What about you then? Which book got you through a difficult time in your life? Get in touch, please. You can ring us 03700 100 444 or text 84844. If you tweet, it's hashtag you and yours, or email us youandyours@bbc.co.uk. We've had loads of messages from you since we mentioned this phone in yesterday, and many listeners have chosen the Bible as the book that got them through difficult times. Patricia Deacon writes, on the very day my dear mother died, I read, Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live even though they die, and whoever lives and believes in me will never die. That's John chapter 11 verses 25 and 26. Tim Goodfellow emailed to say, my wife was very ill and in great pain for over 2 years. She's now thankfully almost recovered. The book which helped me most was the book of Psalms, and he singled out Psalm 23 as his favourite. Here's just a small part of it read by Sir Laurence Olivier.
Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil.
You're listening to Call You and Yours. It's our weekly phone-in here on BBC Radio 4, and today we're asking which book got you through a difficult time in your life. You can call us now, 03700 100 444. Our expert guest today is Professor Philip Davis from Liverpool University. He studies the effect that reading has on us, and he's written a book about that called Reading for Life. Phil, we've heard listeners emailing about books that they say literally have saved their lives. This is just one email, Jane. She says, after my husband died, there seemed no point in going on living. But a friend advised her to read a book, Only Love is Real, by Brian, looks like Weiss. And she says, it really helped me to accept that my only love had gone and to grieve much less. And she says, I stopped considering suicide. I mean, I know this is a massive question, but what is it about reading that can transform the way we think in that way?
I don't think in the modern world we often have spaces in which to think about life. And literature is a sort of trigger that can take you into that space where you can think about life with feeling. It may not always get you to a better place, but it certainly begins to get you to a deeper place. And literature often has to do with loss and trouble. And people, the readers we just heard, clearly need the companionship of a book that says, we have been through this.
Well, some of it is what psychologists call, don't they, what is it, a validation. When somebody shares an experience that you have shared and what you're feeling, you think, well, that's okay then, because this strange thing I'm feeling, they also feel. But listeners are talking about books having the power to do something that's much bigger than that, isn't it? If it changes the way you think. When you think of Ben Zephaniah talking about hating himself as a black man.
And walking tall.
Yes, wow. I mean, that can take years and years of work, and but yet you can find it in a book. How?
I think that the origins of the Bible are often to do with that great human cry, help, help. And I'm not sure that I like the language of validation. I like the language of sharing, of thinking we are all in an often troubled boat. And sometimes when you haven't got somebody to speak to, or when what you've got to say is too hard, writing and reading have to take over.
Tell us about the book that helped you through a difficult time, briefly if you would.
I've chosen an old book rather than a new one. I've chosen a religious book, though I wouldn't call myself formally religious. And the book is The Pilgrim's Progress by John Bunyan, which turns the Bible from a book into a landscape. And so in relation to what we've been talking about, the pilgrim, the man, finds himself walking through the valley of the shadow of death. This was important to me, I have to say to you recently, because I spent over the last 6 months in hospitals and care homes sitting next to my dying mother, and the only thing that she wanted me to read to her was the 23rd Psalm. And so as Pilgrim goes through the valley of the shadow of death, he hears the words that Laurence Olivier read, thou art with me. But he hears them coming from the voice of a man as going before him. And that man, I think, is King David, the psalmist. And I love the fact that it's going before. It's not that these are old books that are behind you from way back. They are the books where people have done this before, and the voice of thou art with me is going on ahead, and you begin to think that too is my journey. And the journey that the pilgrim has to take is even unto the river of death, which it is said will be either shallower or deeper according to whether you believe in the Lord of the place. And this is a terrible crisis for the man, because suddenly he finds himself drowning and panics, and he does not know. And I don't know that I do, whether in that test and crisis you will find the bit of faith or the bit of courage or the bit of something that will say, I'm not going to drown. That's what I mean about being taken to a deeper place.
Professor Phil Davies, thanks for the minute, but we will come back to you again throughout the programme.